Hello everyone, welcome to part 3 of learning Kotlin with ChatGPT. If you haven't seen the first two videos already, you can check them out in the playlist. Let's get started. So we'll continue from where we left off last time. I'm going to fire up ChatGPT and continue. Okay, so it's giving me a bunch of steps and I'll ask it to take me through step by step. Okay, so the next step is inheritance and polymorphism. Inheritance allows one class to acquire the properties and behaviors of the parent class. Polymorphism lets you use objects of different types interchangeably. Okay, so let's just copy this code and I'm gonna just delete everything I have here from last time. Copy this, paste this, and now the other class. And finally, the main. Okay, let's see what's happening here. So we have a base class called animal, which has some sound, and it's basically some custom generic string here. And we can have a derived class called dog from animal and override that function and print woof woof if it's a dog. So let's run this and see. Yeah, so I think if I have another one called cat animal and override the sound function and say, sorry, oops, why is there a comma here? And call that here, let's say it should say meow. I'll also do one base animal, it says meow, and I will do just animal here, and it should print some generic animal sound. Yep, okay, cool. All right, now adding properties to the base class. String animal name, okay. Okay, so let's copy all of this and paste it here. Let's see what's going on. So we added some properties to the base class. I think name is that one property, and the derived class will inherit that property. So in this case, cat will inherit the name property, and in here we are saying that name is whiskers, and when we call cat.sound, it should print whiskers says meow. Okay, so let's run this. Basically the idea is you have a property defined on the main class and you are able to use that property in the derived class. Whiskers says meow. Oh, okay, let's move on to the next step then. Higher order functions in lambdas. Higher order function is a function that takes another function as a parameter or returns a function. A lambda is a concise way to write anonymous functions, functions without a name. Okay, let's check the higher order functions first. I'm copy pasting everything. So let's take a look at what's happening here. So we have a function called calculate, which takes two integers and performs an operation which takes two integers and returns an integer. and that operation is basically, this is a function. So we first need to have a function, and that function needs to return an integer and take two integers. I think this is what it is. So here you are saying, basically defining a comma b as a function and passing, and it's just returning a plus b. And okay, calculate. Cool. And similarly, we have another one which is multiplying, and you're calling calculate with 5 comma 3 and passing the function a comma b returns a star b, or a multiplying b. Okay, it's weird. So we can only pass one function. Why is that? How can I pass two functions? Okay, let's first run this, then we'll get to that. Okay, so sum is 8, product is 15. And it's weird the way this is passed for me a little bit, because I would like to have defined the function first and then pass it, but I guess we wanted to show off the lambda also. Okay, so operation int as the parameters and return int is a function, and lambda is the definition or concise way of defining that operation. So, okay, now let's just do one lambda. Okay, so takes a string and returns a unit, describes a function type that takes a string and returns nothing. Okay, got it. Lambda is defined with a open parenthesis and a closed parenthesis with parameters on the left side of the arrow and the body on the right. Okay, simple enough. Let's run this. So, okay, so we defined greet as a function that takes a string and returns nothing, and we defined it as this lambda. So the lambda takes name, and the function, the definition of that lambda is print line hello that name. So when you pass argument to greet, it will you're essentially passing the name, and then the body of the function is print line hello that name. So when you're passing Kotlin, it just prints hello Kotlin, and that's what we see here. Okay, and we can also return a function. Let's check this out. Okay, let's see what ChatGPT says this is. So this is a higher order function that returns another function. Okay, so we defined a function called operation, which takes in a string and returns a function that takes in two integers and returns one integer. And inside operation, we are defining what the return function is. So the return function is take in a and b and return a plus b if the operation type was add. If not, just multiply them, right? Okay, so let's see what happens here. So in this case, we are defining add and passing the type as string type as add here, and because this is add, operation returns this as the function, right? And so we can now call this function with the arguments 3 and 4, which are essentially two integers, and it should return the sum of these two. I'll run this. So if we are passing 3, 4 with add, it just adds, and with multiply, it multiplies. What happens if I just print the function directly, like add? What does it say? Let's see. Okay, see, so this says add is a function that takes two integers and returns the third integer. It returns another integer. I think at least that's what I think. Okay, so we can have a function return another function. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Inline functions. Higher order functions can be made more efficient by using the inline function, inline keyword. This avoids the overhead of creating additional objects for lambdas. Okay, this is an inline function that executes an operation which takes nothing and returns a unit. Okay, this is a function basically, and like if you define a function with no arguments and no return value, that's this function, right? So execute will take that function, like print the before operation, call that function, and then print the after operation. Okay, let's check what this does. Okay, I'm gonna ask what is the advantage of inline a little bit better. Can you explain the advantage of inline better? Oh, I'm assuming it's typing something. Yeah. When you mark a function with inline, the function call is replaced by the actual code of the function at compile time of a function call, which improve performance, especially in higher order. Okay. So, for example, without inline, this is how it is created. And here the operation lambda is created as an object which incurs memory allocation and function overhead. I see. Got it. Okay, I think I understood now. So let's see. When a function is marked as inline, the overhead is avoided to create like the pushing and popping variables from the call stack and so on, because the function code is directly inserted into the calling function. So here at compile time, this is replaced by these 3 lines, right? So that's why it's more efficient and incurs less memory. Okay. So with inline, they're giving the example here. You have the inline function here, the main function here, and after compilation, this is how the code looks. So this execute was completely replaced by the contents of this function. So it's as good as you writing your code like this. Neat. Now, when not to use inline, large functions. Inlining large functions can increase the size of the compile code. Okay. Functions called multiple times. If function is called multiple times, inlining may lead to duplication of the code, increasing the binary size. Okay. If the function doesn't use lambdas, the benefits of inlining are minimal. Okay, cool. I'm going to ask it to generate or give me an example where I pass 2 or more functions as arguments. Okay, so let's copy this. Okay, let's run the code first and then we'll go to ChatGPT and see. Operation 1 result and operation 2 results. Okay, so here we are passing operation 1, which is a function which takes an integer and returns an integer, and operation 2 as a function which takes an integer and returns an integer. Okay, and the execute with arguments essentially executes the first operation first and the second operation second. And okay, and we also need to define the values that are going into these functions, operation 1 and operation 2. Okay, so we call this execute with arguments with a value of 5, and the first operation is a multiplication of itself, and the second operation is a plus 10 of the number. Okay, cool. All right, 25 and 15. Okay, folks, I'm going to stop the video here. This is a little bit longer than I would have liked. We'll cover the next topics in a different video. Keep an eye out for that. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good day. Bye.